Adim Okwesa of Financial Derivatives Company says MTN's listing today on the Nigerian Stock Exchange concerned him. Good morning.
Good morning.
Yeah, this is a multi-billion-dollar company.
Yeah.
If you translate that, it means a lot of trillions of naira if you look at all the assets and everything. So this is as big as it can get coming to the market, I'm sure. Whether you're porting, whatever you're doing, whether you have one team, this is a company in everybody's face, in everybody's pockets, in everybody's voice, data, and what have you. So when we talk about Nigeria's consumers market, this is one company in telecoms that is a headline grabber.
Yes, indeed. I think what this story tells us is that despite the difficult operating environment in Nigeria, despite the number of legal disputes that MTN has faced in Nigeria, it is still committed to Nigeria in the long term. It is showing no signs of slowing down. This, coupled with its plan to launch a mobile money service later this year, is testament to that. So that is certainly a positive thing. That this will send a positive signal to perhaps uncertain investors which have perhaps taken a backseat. It shows that the long-term potential of the country is extremely strong. And like you said, MTN represents, if we add at a share of 90 naira per share, that amounts to a market cap of almost 2 trillion naira. That is almost 20% of the NSE stock market. So
current market value.
Current market capitalization, I'm sorry. So that will just deepen the robustness of the market. So it's certainly a positive. I can't see any negative with this development.
Well, everyone will be, because from today, we're going to now have MTN, which is stock exchange is going to be, the symbol will be MTNN. People will be looking at how does the share of this company perform, how many shares are traded, and everyone, whether they have this share or they'll try to get into it, will be interested in how MTN performs moving forward, because Nigerians have clamored and have said, look, we need to have these big telecom companies, like the oil companies like Shell, Chevron, the rest of them should also list on the exchange.
Yes, Nigeria is MTN's second largest market. I'm sorry, it's MTN's largest market. So it definitely wants to have a long-term presence in the country, and it wants to deepen its public. How do I call it now?
The presence and perception will be very key.
Yes, exactly. Yes.
Yeah, and image and everything.
Yes.
By the way,
yes, indeed.
It's going to be, if not the most widely watched company.
Yes, and the hope is that perhaps they'll do this is not an IPO, a typical IPO per se. So the hope is that perhaps later on in the year, over next steps, would do a proper IPO, which would deepen it.
But this is dipping your finger in the water, as it were, to find out how it is. Well, that's when you do listing by introduction. I'm sure it's a big story. But then let's come back to a bigger story, which Nigerians may feel a little bit more particular about. That's inflation. That is the price of bread, chicken, rice, whatever you consume.
Yes, inflation has been hovering between the range of 11 to 12% for the past 11 months. That is largely because of food prices. The food basket accounts for 52% of the consumer price index. So trends in that category will play a large role in trends in the overall.
We haven't seen runaway inflation, as it were. It is just hovering around 11.2, 11.3, one step forward, two steps backward, kind of.
But high food prices are a concern. They continue to rise. For example, if you look at core inflation, that is inflation less seasonality, that actually dropped to 9.9% in April. So there are a number of reasons why food prices remain high. We have the start of the planting season, we have Ramadan, and local food output continues to be disrupted by high levels of violence in the country's agricultural heartlands. So that is a cause for concern. Even imported inflation continues to trend upwards. The Naira has been relatively stable. So really, factor that I can attribute that to is perhaps the CBN's imports, forex restrictions on some certain imported foodstuff. And the outlook points to a further rise in food prices because these factors are not likely to abate anytime soon. So
yes, food prices still likely to go up. So perhaps it was opposite yesterday for the central bank chief to say rough and tough times ahead, and we should be prepared for that.
Yes.
But we need to fix a number of issues, really. Look at the power sector, the fluctuations and what have you, petrol pricing under recovery, subsidy, whatever it is. It looks a little bit messy there, or quite very difficult issue, and the administration will have to face those very squarely. Once the inauguration is over, then we'll have an announcement of new cabinet members.
Yes, indeed. And to be honest, there's no time. Look, there's not really no time to fix all our problems. Like you said earlier in this program, the population is going to reach almost 250 million in a couple of years' time. So if we don't address these challenges, if we don't do things to improve our productivity, then the country is a ticking time bomb. And we have this Boko Haram. If the country population continues to rise, then it just brings recruitment for these jihadists, and it's not going to be a nice thing.
Very, very interesting time if you look at where we are right now. But when we look at this 11.37% inflation for April, which is basically a look back, does it mean we should, if you look at the market survey, should folks start thinking about, look, prices of goods, foods will begin to trend a little bit higher?
Yes, that's on the
Should everyone just be on the standby mode for that?
Yes, that would be the wise thing to do. And the overall inflation index points to higher inflation in coming months. Just for instance, the minimum wage legislation, which took effect earlier this month, that would fuel demand side pressures. So inflation is expected to rise in the coming months. The outcome of next week's MPC meeting will be hinged on inflation expectations. So it looks like perhaps the CBN would prioritize inflation over economic growth this time.
So something is not likely to have any haircuts next week.
That is what it's looking like. But anything can happen, to be honest. That's last rate cut. Last March rate cut came as a surprise.
It was a big surprise.
Yes.
Let's finish up with oil prices. Sometimes it's getting me a little bit dizzy. One day it's up and I want to smile. Then the next few hours, then I begin to say, hold on a second. Why are the figures winking at me?
Yeah, right. As of this morning, oil prices are actually higher to $72 this morning. That is largely due to simmering tensions in the Middle East. Tensions like something is brewing in that region. Just yesterday,
Saudi Arabia,
Iran, and the U.S. Just yesterday, the U.S. told its non-emergency staff to evacuate Iraq. So that means something is brewing, and no one wants
something not good.
Yes, no one wants any kind of conflict to break out. But if the conflict breaks out, then that would mean oil prices would shoot up drastically.
And that's not also helped by the trade war with China. Even though some early reports today are saying President Trump may be taking one step back. That's early today, maybe taking a step back from this trade war with China, because according to Bloomberg early today, China has about $3.5 trillion war chest, fiscal war chest to face United States very squarely. And when I saw that, then I said, wow, this looks like a very big fight.
It is. Even just yesterday, the U.S. announced that it would delay its announcement on if it would raise tariffs on European cars. So that is certainly...
That's fighting on two fronts.
Yes, it doesn't want to. It doesn't want to. Well, I think it's being cautious. It doesn't want to have another battle with the Europeans now while it's fighting China. So for now, it is quite calm now, but the outlook...
Let's hope it stays calm and all of that before it gets a lot more messy, because with us here in Nigeria and a number of African countries, we've got this strong relationship with Europe and with China as well. So if US comes down very hard on both, it's going to be a bit tight. Thank you so much. Yeah. It's good to have you with us. Adeem Okwesa, member of the economic think tank at Financial Derivatives Company. We're back in 2.